Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the wildest, most unexpected partnerships in tech history. Apple and Google are teaming up on AI. We're going to break down how this massive deal is about to completely change your iPhone, and it all starts with one, honestly, mind-boggling number. Here it is. $1 billion. That's reportedly what Apple is paying Google every year to bake its Gemini AI right into the core of the iPhone. Now, for two companies that are arguably the fiercest rivals in Silicon Valley, this is an absolute shock to the system. And that leads to the big question, right? Why on earth would Apple, the company famous for its walled garden for controlling every little piece of the puzzle, turn around and hand over a critical part of its future to Google? Well, the answer is a fascinating story about falling behind and having to make a really tough choice. So to really get the why, you have to start with Apple's biggest AI headache, Siri. For years, we've all complained about its limits, right? And behind the scenes, Apple knew they had a major problem. They finally realized Siri didn't just need a little update. It needed a full-on brain transplant. This right here is the data that really forced Apple's hand. Their internal numbers showed that Siri was failing complex questions a staggering 33% of the time. Think about that. 1 out of every 3 sophisticated requests was just a dead end, which, was pushing more and more of us over to things like ChatGPT. Let's just be real about it. Apple fell behind, way behind. While its competitors were busy building these enormous AI models with over 1 trillion parameters, Apple's best model was stuck at around 150 billion. They were completely outgunned, and they knew there was no way they could close that gap on their own, at least not fast enough. So what do? Well, Apple kicked off this super secret mission codenamed Project Glenwood. It was basically a high-stakes talent show to find a new brain for Siri, and pretty much every major player in the AI world was lining up to audition. So Apple checked out the 3 biggest players. Anthropic's AI was pretty impressive, but they wanted multi-billions of dollars. OpenAI, that was a total non-starter. I mean, their CEO, Sam Altman, was openly talking about building an iPhone killer and had called Apple a major rival. So that left Google as really the only partner that made sense. And this deal sent shockwaves through the industry. As analyst Andrew Friedman points out, Google winning this wasn't just a victory for them. It was a huge strategic blow to OpenAI, which suddenly lost access to potentially billions of iPhones. Okay, so Google gets the deal, but how does this thing actually work, especially with Apple being so obsessed with privacy? Well, it turns out they've structured it very, very carefully to make sure your data stays safe. Apple built this really smart 3-tier system. So simple stuff, like asking to set a timer, that gets handled right there on your iPhone's chip. More complex questions go to Apple's own secure private cloud. And only the absolute most demanding tasks, the ones Siri used to completely choke on, only those tap into Google's Gemini. And even then, it all happens inside Apple's secure system. This division of labor is absolutely key. The best way to think about it is like this. Google is providing the powerful engine, this custom 1.2 trillion parameter Gemini model. But Apple is building the entire car around it. They're handling the user interface, the app integration, and most importantly, a privacy wrapper that makes sure Google never sees your personal data. Okay, enough about the business deal. What does this actually mean for you? Let's get to the fun part and look at the new superpowers that are expected to land on your iPhone, probably with a future update like iOS 26.4. This list is basically a dream come true for anyone who's ever been frustrated by Siri. The new version will actually remember the context of your conversation. It'll handle complex tasks that jump between different apps. It'll draft documents for you, and it can even understand what's on your screen. And best of all, no more getting punted to a web search for a simple question. So let's look at a quick before and after. Ask the old Siri to schedule a meeting with my doctor, and it would probably just fail or give you a web search. The new Gemini-powered Siri, though, it'll check your calendar, find your doctor's contact info, draft an email asking for an appointment, and even block off the time for you. It's a total game changer. Now, a partnership this big doesn't just change your iPhone, it completely redraws the power map for the entire AI industry. So let's zoom out and look at the shockwaves this sent through Wall Street and the world of regulators. Wall Street's reaction was instant and it was crystal clear. You can see Google's stock just shot up. Investors saw this as the ultimate proof that their AI strategy was winning. Apple's stock, on the other hand, stayed pretty stable, which shows this was seen more as a necessary move to catch up, not some huge innovation. But make no mistake, This partnership is a stepping stone for Apple. It is not a surrender. They have a three-stage plan. Short-term, partner with Google to get competitive right now. Mid-term, use all of the data from Gemini to train their own better models. And the long-term goal? To switch to a fully in-house Apple AI by 2027 and cut Google out of the picture completely. Of course, a deal this massive is going to get a lot of attention from regulators. Antitrust experts in both the US and Europe are already raising some serious red flags, warning that an alliance between two of tech's biggest giants could create an unreasonable concentration of power and basically shut out any competition.
So, this all brings us to the bottom line. Your iPhone is about to get a whole lot smarter, way more useful. But that intelligence is coming from a deal that ties Apple's future to its biggest rival. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. As your iPhone gets smarter, do you trust who's teaching it?